I wanted to say a couple of words for Joey Barton after he's been found guilty of the crime in this country of sending some tweets. So Joey Barton, a former footballer, has been found guilty of sending grossly offensive messages from a certain period to a certain number of people. Those tweets had to go to police officers. Those police officers had to form a case from those social media tweets. The police officers then had to send that case to the Crown Prosecution Service for them to consider whether it was a case that could be prosecuted, and they decided it could be. So the case then went to the courts in front of a jury, and the taxpayer had to fund a KC, the King's Counsel, to prosecute a case against Joey Barton about words that he typed on social media, and jurors found in 6 out of 12 of those counts that he was guilty of sending grossly offensive messages. He has to go back to court on the 8th of December to find out the sentencing. What will be the penalty that he has to pay for the crime of writing tweets on Twitter? I mean, it sounds insane because it actually is. The court found, and I want to quote this, that he crossed the line between speech and a crime. A line was crossed between free speech and a crime. But of course, you can't draw that line because this isn't metrics. This doesn't have any metrics to back it up. There is no system, no points-based analytics where you draw the line. There is no measurement of the line. The line is anywhere that someone feels. The line is nebulous. What is offensive versus grossly offensive, and who decides? When I say stuff that's offensive to some people, other people find it funny. Maybe you find it funny. Maybe you find it hilarious. Someone over there finds it offensive. Someone over there finds it grossly offensive. How can he possibly have crossed the line when you can't draw the line? And if you tried to articulate the line, you couldn't. You'd be writing for days and days. It's always the way with things that are irrational. You cannot rationalize the irrational. Same with COVID rules that made no sense. You cannot rationalize them, and you end up writing pages and pages to try and explain them because you can't explain them because they didn't make sense in the first place. How can you possibly cross a line into crime when all you did was write a tweet? The second thing that's really important to me, and it's a big one that I've felt for all the decades that I had lawfare against me, is people will take pleasure in it. It's a really bizarre thing to witness. So at the time that lawfare against me, that I fought because I was determined this couldn't become precedent in the UK, that someone could say they were seriously harmed by tweets without having to prove serious harm. But that is now law in the UK. You can say you were seriously harmed and you can sue for it. You can cost someone £30,000 at the drop of a solicitor's letter because of case law set for me, by me, that someone can be harmed. They don't have to prove it. That's not the point. People laughed as I lost my house fighting that case because I believe that should not be precedent in this country. But they laughed because they hated me. So because I was the biggest bitch in Britain, because people believed I was a monster, because people hated me or they thought they hated my views or the way I've been portrayed or things I'd actually said, they would laugh. So, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. I remember very noble individuals sitting in the House of Lords enjoying my fall because they enjoyed the fact that it happened to me because they hated me or they hated my opinions. And that's happening to Joey now. He's a nasty guy, can't stand the prick. He's a wife beater. And it's so bizarre that people, if they feel like they dislike someone who they don't actually know, are then prepared to go, it's great that he's been found guilty of words on a social media platform. Now he's going to be sentenced potentially to prison time. That's great because I think he's a bit of a prick. Imagine, if you will, a mirror being held up against you and the people who think you're a bit of a prick deciding your sentencing or enjoying your sentences. Would you enjoy that? Or are you assuming that everybody in the world thinks that you're terrific? Because I can assure you that won't be the case. That's a really weird thing for Joey to have to see. And you can Billy Big Bollocks it out, right? You can say, it doesn't affect me. I know who I am. They're just wankers. It doesn't affect me. But it does. It does. The noise of people enjoying your pain or suffering or humiliation or any of the things it was for me, which was all of those things: humiliation, pain, suffering, endless taunting. It does affect you. It has to. If you're human, it really does. I wonder specifically about Jeremy Vine, a guy that goes around on a bike with cameras attached to his helmet so he can humiliate other motorists who are usually just trying to crack on with their day. A guy that got my friend Alex Belfield put into prison for a term of 5 years for words, emails, messages, whatever. A guy that wears stilettos and think that's funny and has done many curious things and seems to take pleasure in persecuting other people. I don't understand that way of thinking. I don't think it's nice, and I don't think it should be rewarded by now sentencing Joey Barton. But I guess most importantly, and the real reason I wanted to talk about this, apart from the perversity that here in the UK, speech can be deemed criminal if enough jurors sitting on a jury decide that it's grossly offensive. I mean, one of the tweets that he's being criminalised for was him saying that a black a lady who does commentaries, she's a black lady, she commentates on the football. He said she was only there to tick boxes. A jury said that that was grossly offensive and is criminal. That she's there to tick boxes. That's seen as criminal speech in the UK. What was that jury thinking? I mean, did they come in, did they decide they should make that one? You know, that should be guilty because then we look like better people. Is that it? Do you look like a better person if you say that, oh yes, that's definitely grossly offensive? Because I feel like that's what went on here. But most importantly to Joey, aside from people indulging in your suffering, which is a perverse human trait, and the only thing I can take away from that is that idea that I would really not want to live my life like that. That's the only way I was able to cope with the volume of people indulging in my suffering or losing my home or losing everything or going to IVA to forcibly nearly bankrupt myself to stop this chain of people coming to say that I had seriously harmed them with my speech. The only way I could stop that was by clearing myself of everything, clearing house of everything, no bank account, no home, no nothing. And the only thing I'd say about that is people that really enjoy that, enjoy your suffering, the only thing you can think is, imagine that being their life. Imagine how small and protected their lives are, that they can enjoy someone else's pain as the thing that gets them through. The thing that makes them feel better about their life is watching someone else suffer. I'm just glad that isn't where I get my joy from. And I also know that sort of person lives in fear of anything bad happening to them, which is why they keep their heads down, so they keep their public sector wage, they keep their pension. They have to spend their lives being small in order they can keep what matters to them, which is the most stupid of things, like a friggin' parking permit, but they indulge in your suffering because you lived your life big. And somewhere on the line, that does make sense, and it makes you understand that you're sitting in the right place. The other thing, and this is the most important thing, and it applies to lots of people out there, which is when something like this happens that's horrible in your life, or you have something coming up that's terrible, my super advice, and it's worked every time for me, is to walk towards it. So if there is pain ahead, walk faster towards it and then gobble it up. If there's a horrible thing coming, walk towards it with the sense of, go on then, go on. If it's like someone's about to punch you, walk towards that. If it's everybody clamouring for your guts in a weird puritanical pack because they're salivating over the fact you're going to be in court to be charged for the crime of words, walk towards that. Because the truth of it is, it's insanity that you're going to court to be given a sentence for words. It's insanity that a jury found you guilty of anything for words. It's insanity that it is possible to say that there is a line between speech and a crime when it relates to you calling someone a bite nonce or making a perfectly decent point about someone else. It's insanity. And you can't rationalise that. All you can do is walk towards it, gobble it up, know that you're dealing with utterly irrational behaviour on all sides. Know that people who claim to be your friend very often aren't. They just want filling up with how terrible it is for you. Don't fill them up. You know, many people, friends, they just want to be filled up like a fuel tank on a car. They want to hear how terrible it is for you. Don't fill those people up with your private suffering. Don't give them more gossip to go and spread. And finally, it's a commitment to yourself internally. I'll walk towards this pain. I'm going to take this. And when I'm ready, doesn't matter what that time period is, I'm going to get back up again. So whether that's having your skull sawn off, whether it's being fired from every job, whether it's losing your home or losing your family or being declared more or less bankrupt, or seeing articles, people enjoying your suffering, the fall of Katie Hopkins, whatever it is, to Joey, I would say, remember that in time, in your own time, you will get back up. And those very little people, frightened of losing what tiny things they have in their life, will still be there, waiting for the next person to come along, whose pain that they can go on and enjoy. And I'm certain that ours is the side to be on, and I'm certain that if you wait long enough by the river, bodies of your enemies come floating by. And I've had the pleasure of watching Phil Schofield, all of the Moose Women, Holly Willoughby, so many heads of BBC, head of BBC News, Director General of the BBC. I'm having quite a lot of fun waiting by the river, Joey. So if you want to come join me here on the riverbank, we'll just wait for the next body to come floating by.